morning. Take one. On this one is going to be a very deep delve into some of the techniques. I hope you've been enjoying what I've been talking about up to now, and this episode is going to show you how the deep delve can take us. We're not going to go into a rabbit hole, we're just going to go deep into the ethos and the philosophies that are behind self-defense. Adrenaline and boost their ego. This is not about boosting your ego. This is about the philosophy. This is deep. So we're going to talk about the different techniques. And when I thought about this subject, I had to think about the different styles that I've learnt myself. Was through kung fu, through karate, through judo, through muay thai, through tai chi, wing chun, jeet kune do, jiu-jitsu. These are the styles, including aikido, include wrestling, include boxing. These are all styles of physical training. The fighting I learned as a young person, as a very young person. I had to maneuver my way through society, through life, like everybody does, and you invariably find out where you stand in the pecking order. That is how it works in most areas, urban areas, inner cities. You have to stamp your own authority on your own community in some respects, and that is as a young man, as I saw it. About they all have various different philosophies and techniques that you can learn. Karate has so many different techniques and so many different other styles of karate. You have Shotokan. So you have the basic stances and you have the basic learning modes that you learn, and then you have the higher techniques that people who have become experts then create their own style that they then add on to the kung fu elements. Jeet Kune Do was a style that Bruce Lee himself originated, and it was a cross between all the other styles he'd learnt. In Thai boxing, you have Taekwondo, Tai Chi, which is similar words, but they're two different styles of fighting. Muay Thai is more a warrior style of fighting. Tai Chi is more to do with exercise, breathing, balance, blocking, multiple strikes at one time, blocking and striking at the same time. And these are very technical techniques to learn. In karate as well, you learn all the technical kicks, the technical blocks. In Muay Thai, you do a lot of knees, a lot of low kicking, a lot of shin kicks, a lot of conditioning, a lot of elbows, different style of stances. In boxing, you have one original style of fighting where it's using the fist. It's stylized in some ways by some boxers. Some boxers have managed to stylize boxing, but the original boxing had very few rules. It was just basically you beat the living hell out of each other for many rounds. In the early days it was 30, maybe 40 rounds, or until somebody was passed out or may have even passed away. This would happen in the early days of feudal fighting, and we find this in the English history. We find this in all countries who have a history of boxing. Feudalism, all the same thing. It sounds similar. Feudal fighting, feudalism, hitting. It's the same thing really. You bang somebody out, that's what you do, that you knock them out, a knockout. And that is something that most boxers will train to do, and they'll try to do as early as they possibly can without inflicting much damage on themselves. We do have boxers who showboat, who like to inflict more pain than should be. That's why they have a referee. And in all these styles of fighting, when it's competitive, you have a referee who then oversees to make sure the rules are being followed. There are certain rules that are not allowed in the competitive style of fighting. Straight kicks, low kicks to the knee are not really allowed in boxing, because you could end up obviously breaking that person's leg. But in some cases, this is allowed. It's allowed to a level where if the person doesn't tap out, then they will then go extreme amounts of pain just to prove a point. When the person has obviously subdued them, they don't want to accept this. This can then lead to the person then adding more pressure. To the very least, you're going to cause irreparable damage or some damage. And this is what is practiced in martial arts, that you are there to subdue your opponent. Your opponent comes forward, you use whatever is in the means of your arsenal. So it's good to learn as many different techniques as possible, because you may find that you're meeting an opponent who has a similar fighting style to you. Then you have to then change things up, you have to then think outside of the box. And this is why I'm talking about this in this way. The techniques, the kicks, the punches, the high guards, the low guards, the fighting stances are all practiced in different styles of martial arts. You have ninjutsu as well, which is another very obscure style that is practiced mainly in China and in Japan, and it is to do with the ninja style of fighting. It's a style of kung fu, and they use other techniques, and it's also being incorporated into the armed forces, where you see them dressed in all black doing clandestine missions, meaning undercover covert operations, that then use techniques that are similar to what the ninjas you would use. It was similar to ninjutsu, where they would use stealth entrances and then fight in a way that always favored themselves, because they would be heavily armed or lightly armed, but with enough arms to cause damage to a person. So there are styles of fighting that teaches you to fight with weapons. Weapons training is something that most martial artists have to practice at some stage in their life, either how to block weapons or how to fight with weapons. Because if somebody pulls a weapon on you and you have something within you to use as a weapon, which, you know, this can be almost anything could become a weapon. I'm going to find the first thing that comes to mind, and this could be a weapon. This could be used as a weapon, as even a piece of paper. You know, imagine a paper cut on somebody. That's going to cause problems. Or if you use it in a certain way to cause that person problems. A book can be used, as you can see how I'm holding it. This is very easy to be used as a weapon, to the throat, to the eyes, to any part of the body, to the temples, to the, you know, to the very soft areas of the body. You can use certain things, a pen, a pin, all things can be used as a weapon. Your little finger, your fingers can be used as a weapon, your thumb, your teeth. Even people use their words as weapons. So it's the philosophy that takes us into the level of understanding. If you can hurt somebody, then you can also heal somebody. So you can use your words as not only as a weapon, you can use them to cause peace. You can use it to humility, to show that you are a humble person and not there to fight that person. So martial arts has all these levels. The further you go into the violence, the further you have of getting into a situation that you can't easily get out of without causing harm to that person, or even causing harm to yourself. Imagine somebody pulling something out like a gun on you, or a knife. What would your first response be? A martial arts first response would be to protect themselves, would be to not have been in that situation, because once the weapons are pulled out, you're moving into a very different realm of into a situation like that before. Time is going to be very frightening. The second time is going to be equally as frightening. The third time you may become used to it, because you then built up some form of repertoire, words that you can then use, or you can read that situation way before the weapon is pulled on yourself, and then you can act accordingly, whether it's to run away or it's to act in an assertive way. This isn't something I would advise somebody to do, even with the most amount of training, is to try to take a weapon off somebody else. And When I talk about the different kicks, the different punches, we have so many. I've shown you the different techniques. I've even shown you techniques from Magar and from Cabrera as well. These are different martial arts that are quite modern to today's civilization, but they were ancient styles. There's Sistema as well, another style that's used in the military. We can look at all the different techniques that I've shown you during training. I show you some kicks that are from Taekwondo. I show you some of the training that is from Capoeira, and some of the training that I've learned in boxing, and some of the training I've learned in karate, and some of the Muay Thai, because of these are easier to follow for a person and are easier to learn as easy techniques in the beginning. Low kicks are always practicing Muay Thai because of the need to have a stable stance, and the low kicks can cause a lot of damage. Whereas if you try to kick them high, you're off balance. That person may see that you're off balance and slightly adjust their technique to then overcome whatever techniques you have. You're off balance. So when you're off balance, a boxer, a Taekwondo expert, karate expert, even a street fighter will know that you're off balance and then utilize this to their advantage. That's why I don't come on here sprouting that I'm going to show people how to fight. I'm the greatest fighter and I can take out 10 men. That's not what I'm here to even talk about. We're not even going to talk about taking out people. We're talking about defending yourself. Defending yourself is far more easier than what people make it out to be, because if you use a lot of your involuntary sort of actions that you would automatically do, then you're going to be defending yourself. You're using self-defense in almost everyday life. When we blink, that is self-defense. When we sneeze, that is an involuntary action that the body then takes upon. When we have dust or something comes into, a foreign agent comes into our body, we sneeze, we cough. These are involuntary actions. Flinching is an involuntary action. If you are quite nervous, you're a nervous disposition, you're going to flinch at any little movement, any little noise. A loud bang is going to make you look. These are involuntary actions, and if you work with these things, we can understand how the body will react in more situations. Soldiers preempt this by doing a lot of training under live fire. What I mean by this is that when they're doing their training exercises, often when it comes down to the last minute of going out into action, they have to then go out under extreme conditions, loud explosions going on, gunfire, a lot of shouting, water, barbed wire to go through, obstacles to climb over, people falling down in the mud. All these things, as well as carrying their equipment and listening to orders and going through all the chaos. This is training that they have to then understand. And when this scenario that is then slowly incorporated into this person's everyday routine, this then becomes easier for them to understand. How to react during these situations. And this is what I'm talking about, involuntary actions. So blocking should be an involuntary action. When you see that the person is coming forward, you automatically get ready to block that person's attack. Attacking them back should then come with the techniques, the learning of the techniques. You'll see the opening, you'll take the opening. This doesn't guarantee that you're going to then win this person in any shape or form. It can also escalate the situation, whereas blocking alone may well have stopped this person, getting close to them, holding on tight, making sure that they can't move. This is also moves that is using martial arts. You smother the person, you're kind of smothering the flame. This can help you to then not be hit as many times. You might have been hit once, but once you get in there close, that person hasn't got room to swim. them down to the floor. You see this in law enforcement. The first place that the law enforcement is going to take the person, the offender, is down to the ground. They'll tell them straight away down to the floor. Then they use their voice, and they use certain actions, certain training that they're being given is to control the situation. And when we look at karate, we look at the kicks that they do in karate. The kicks are very powerful, the punches are very powerful, and you have combinations that you can use that is going to optimize the most amount of power generated from those punches and from those kicks. Something to do with your conditioning and a lot to do with your training and your techniques. When you throw these kicks, when you throw these punches, they have to be timed, because if they're not timed, then you can either injure yourself, or you're just going to simply miss the person, leaving yourself open to an attack from the person. And if they're using a knife and you've already committed yourself, you then are in a dangerous position. So a lot of the times in self-defense, it is best to watch the other person's body and in position. Block first, blocking, then reverse. Strike. It's the person that move forward into what you class as your danger area. Your danger area should be something like arm's length away. You can see my hand there. That is your personal space. Everything around there is your personal space. In any situation, we often find people invade our personal space. Sometimes it's invited and sometimes it's not. Your very own right is to have your own personal space. So this is something that people will, I think, will take upon and act upon it. And some people may even use it sort of unfairly on other people, say that they're in their personal space when they're not. They're just basically, just around them. That does not equate to them causing you sort of harm, but some people are very nervous and then they start crying wolf. Like we have a term on the internet now called Karens. We have a lot of people who are going out there and causing trouble, going to somebody, shouting up in their face, and when that person then responds, then they are ready to call the police. And this happened, they're called Karens because it's usually a Caucasian lady who then goes to a black person. I've seen it where they've even said to this person, I'm going to call the police, because they know the situation is going to be in a dire situation when the police arrive. Accused of something, assault, aggression, can be very dangerous. So we talk about personal space and about protecting yourself. Some people now are using cameras to record these situations, which I think is admirable and is warranted. So I'm gonna break this video down.